Matsobane, it must have been daunting because you had to learn another language first and foremost, and then studying in that language. How was that experience?
Well, it's very funny because I remember I was one of the last group that arrived in Cuba, where we were a bit late, and it's expected that on your first year, the first 6 months you must study Spanish, the second 6 months you must study like a preparation of medicine. But since I arrived late, I was only left with 6 months, so I have to divide it by two. I only learned my Spanish in 3 months, and I made it. I made it. My first year of medicine, it wasn't that difficult. It's just so much hard work. You must dedicate your time. You wouldn't sleep because it's not like you study medicine in English. The questions, the lectures you are given are in Spanish. So you have to listen, and when you study, take the dictionary. You have every materials, translation and everything, just to make sure that you grab everything, preparing yourself for the test and exams. And I was in a worst class because my lecturer, she was speaking very fast. So I had to always, but I have a story to tell when it comes to Spanish, because most of my Spanish was contributed by a cleaner. I just met this guy cleaning, and he knew a bit of English. And I told him that, please help me out because this Spanish is just driving me crazy. And he told me that, you know what, I'll help you. But the deal was that I help him clean, and he helped me in Spanish. So it was great.
Sounds fair.
It was fair.
I welcome Dr. Molomo. Sir, welcome, and I'm happy that you are here. Before we start, I want you to just greet our viewers and just give them a bit of a background of who you are, where you come from, and how did you end up studying what you studied. Welcome, and over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, and I would like to greet your viewers and your future viewers. I am Dr. J Matsobane Molomo. I was born at Mapela, Hans. That's based in Limpopo, Mokopane. Raised by a single mother. Managed to go to primary at Ituteng, higher primary at Rapila, and my matric, I matriculated at Gojela High School. I would like to highlight that before I matriculated, I had failed 5 times.
Yo.
Yes, we'll discuss that later on.
Wow.
So from Gojela High School, I went to University of Limpopo, studied microbiology for 6 months. Then I deregistered, waiting for Cuban program to go to Cuba. Limpopo had issues in 2012. It was under administration, so waiting hopelessly. So finally, I managed to go to Cuba 2012 on my birthday, on the 17th of December.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. No, good to hear, man. The exciting thing about you is that where you are from home. Because I'm also from Mapela. My relatives are dead, Mahwelering. But I grew up Komtlotlo. I don't know if you know Mtlotlo. Saitelaya Skruwe Kamoli. That's where I grew up.
Okay.
Before the mine, actually, we were moved by the mine to go to the other side. But I was, basically where the mine is. I was just at the bottom of the mountain. That's where my early years I spent. So, but I'm also excited about the great work that we do in that community in terms of health that you are bringing, the career guidance program that we do. So thank you for that. And I think we'll touch a bit on that. But you mentioned that you failed 5 times. What happened? I'm interested now. We don't hear about doctors sharing about their failure. We think doctors are the smartest in this world. No failure in the academic history.
No. The failing part, I think it was an opening eye to myself and friends around me. You can imagine most public schools, there's too much time of playing. Some teachers don't even come for their periods. So, you get that space of just being whom you are, become stout, think that you're clever, you don't understand. You don't even think that one day I'm going to grow. For you, it's just the fact that I'm having fun until a day when you realize that I am in the same class with people that I'm 3 years older than, and then now the very same jokes now they come after you, they call you with names and I had to sit down to look at my family as well to say I'm the only boy at home, 5 sisters, and I'm the last born. So I was forced to perform, Other issue that contributed a lot, which I think young people in South Africa, especially males, let's not make kids and not be able to take care of. Because I believe that if my father was part of my life, with my mother supportive and all that, possibly I would have turned out to be something else. But I don't regret for the person that I am today because of all those mistakes I've learned from. They groomed me and they made me the person I am today.
Yeah. No, and what we are sharing actually is very important, and it actually speaks to the issue of lack of mentorship and fathers in the communities. Actually, from a psychological perspective, majority of delinquent kids, kids with conduct disorder, scientifically so, it has been found that majority of them, they had no role models or fathers in their family. So what we are raising is very crucial. But I think the other aspect that you are raising is that, not all the kids whom we see underperforming at school are not bright enough to perform. Most of the time, I mean, people can become playful due to diverse reasons, as some of them have mentioned. But I want to get now to the part where you finished matric and you went to UL to do microbiology. Was medicine not an option then? Why did you go for microbiology?
I think we are all aware that to date, South Africa is still facing challenges of admission in terms of medical students. You'll find it a little bit ironic when you hear universities saying this is what we can produce, but in reality, that a population, I'm pretty sure that our population, excluding foreigners, is more than 60 million. So you can imagine each university in South Africa receiving 200, sometimes even less than 200 medical students a year. That it does not go with the population number that we have. So that's the very same thing. I had too much confidence that I want to become a doctor. That when I applied, I never applied for any other thing. They will give you about 5 options. Myself, I'll write first option, and then I leave it like that. The others, I would leave it open. So I never got admitted in Sefakomagatu. By then, it was still Medunsa, University of Pretoria, University of Cape Town, and Vets. They told me that the competition is very high. I won't be able to be admitted. And then when I went to Sefakomagatu, then they were like, you can start your first year next year, provided you do Bachelor of Science and you do very well, extremely well. Then we can admit you. So I took that risk. I took that risk. I said to myself, I want to be a doctor. I want to go out there and help people, and the passion, it was the one that was burning me. The passion it was the one that made me realize that there is nothing else that I want to do except medicine. And that 6 months was also a good experience, because I got to learn. Remember, from high school to university, there's a huge gap in South Africa. It's a huge gap. When you get to university, you are not confident using a computer. You don't even know how to when they give you research, you don't know how to do research. All those things. I had to close that gap before I can even go to Cuba.
So by the time you went to do microbiology, you had applied to be accepted for Cuba as well.
No. The Cuba story is a mystery, man. The Cuba story is a mystery because
Is it?
I remember I did not apply on time, for Cuba.
Okay.
I only found out around May when I was at TEF. A friend of mine that we both went to Cuba. He then tells me that there's a Cuban program, and it didn't make sense to me because there was less information about it. People were
Yeah.
not told much about the Cuban program. The only thing we knew is that people disappear for 2 years and come back, visit a few weeks, and then they go again. That's the only information I had by then. But then when I was sitting at the university one day studying, I decided to go online. Department of Health, looked at the program, on YouTube, you'll see some videos of Cuba, and within a week, when I call my friend, he's like, man, we are in Pretoria doing passports. So, okay, I then realized that I'm late. But I kept on pushing, going to Department of Health, provincial office. Then they realized that these people, the only first step they did, it was for passport, and I already had a passport. So then they said to me, here's your form. We saw it. We are approving it. You can start with your procedures. And around September, which is the academic year starting Cuba, the Department of Health in Limpopo, they announced, it was Matema. She announced that Limpopo does not have funds. We won't be able to go. There are issues with the department funds. By then, the Department of Limpopo was under administration. I think it's education as well. So then at home now they're shouting at me, we told you this, we told you that. But Dr. T, one thing I'll tell you is that I'm a believer. I pray. Today I still
Which
pray.
Is good.
Yeah. I kept on saying, God, you won't bring this thing in front of me and then just jingle it and take it away. There's no way. I'm going to Cuba. This friend that I'm talking about, Dr. Munyiwodi, I remember this other day, we used to do tutorials teaching grade 11s and 12 in local schools. When we're on our way going home, he's like, I know you believe this, but man, let's just go and apply for next year in our universities because I'm scared we might not make it. Little did we know that the following Sunday, it was on a Friday when he told me, Monday, I got a call from Department of Health when they told me that please come with your mother and 2 relatives. You are going to sign a contract. You're going to Cuba. So for me, the trip to Cuba, it was a blessing. Remember, out of that 100 and something students, they only wanted 30, and it was national that did the selection. And I found myself in the 30. For that, I'll forever be grateful of my government because, to be honest with you, there's literally nothing. There was no money that was paid by my mother when we were going for orientation.
No, Superman. I think you have touched on a lot of things. And I think one of the most critical things that you spoke about is that getting to medicine is not that easy. And I usually tell people, and this is what you are highlighting, even if you get the marks or the percentages, so you meet the requirement, competition is very high. Not everybody gets selected. So I usually encourage people that you need to make sure that don't just meet the minimum requirements, go above them because it's very, very difficult. And I'm glad you are mentioning that you also pray and believe. If you believe, you need to also believe and do anything on your power to get into that. You want to add on that?
Yes. So, Dr. T, the other thing I wanted to actually highlight is that South Africa, where we are in terms of career path, we don't put more effort selling different career types, and we don't emphasize to the students that you don't just need to be a doctor because your father wanted you to be a doctor or your mother wanted you to be a doctor. The first question is that what's your passion? What is it, that thing that you can do, in the AMs and not cry? What is it that you'll be passionate about? No one can. You will even become one of the researchers because Unfortunately, if you go to your first year internship, second year internship, community service, doctors, most of them are always complaining. You know, very few are passionate. Very few, when they go for their overtime, when they say I'm on call, goes with a smile. Very few. Majority of our fellows, including myself, you see, as much as I'm a doctor today, I am more passionate into the administrative part of it, you know, the system, how to fix the system. I'm not interested into clinical medicine. And I am grateful that I was able to know that part about me. Because if I had made a wrong choice and say, I'm going to specialize in a clinical medicine, I will realize 10 years later that I've wasted my time. I'm not really passionate about it. So I think before anyone can say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a police officer, you really need to sit down. You really need to know what's your passion, you know? What is it, that thing that can drive you? And when we talk of passion, we talk of, even if they don't pay you at work, you're not going to threaten people, fight people, and all these kind of things. People, before they choose any career, you know, they just need to understand their passion. They need to understand where exactly are they going, you know. I would advise our South African youth that, and not only on medicine, you know, we there's this social, you know, pressure that we get that if you're not a doctor, if you're not an engineer, you know, you are literally nothing in the society. But if you look at the roles of different career paths that can play in this country, especially now that our country is under the stress, you know, people are talking of unemployment, which that part is a story for another day. I don't agree with someone who tells me that there's unemployment in this country. There's so many opportunities. We just need to know our passion. We just need to step out of the comfort zone and stop blaming government, yet we as youth are doing nothing, you know. So career-wise, let people understand who. If you want to become a doctor because you got good marks, that doesn't make you a good doctor. You know, if you're passionate about swimming, why do you want to become an engineer? You know, because first, second year of your employment, you'll be complaining every day that my employment this, my employment that. So let people choose career, not because of family cohesion, not because of the societies will say this to me, not because of I want to, you know, my girlfriend or my ex-girlfriend. No. Let them choose careers because they're passionate and they know that they will excel. I'm not sure if Dr. T are able to hear me.
I think I'm hearing you, but I've lost you again. For some reason, it started to freeze again. Okay, now I can see you. It keeps on freezing. I don't know why. You were fine when we started, but now for some reason, it's starting to play some games. But I can see you now. No, look, what you are raising is very important. And I think it's as if you saw the video that I've done, because I spoke about people who do medicine because they hear there's money and they become depressed doctors when they don't get as much money as they thought they will get. You find a person can see a queue, but because they are there for the money, people don't matter. So there's no passion, there's no interest at all. So I mean, so you get people like that, and I think what we are raising is the most important part. I mean, you need to really do an introspection. Getting high marks doesn't necessarily mean you must go and do medicine. You know, there are many courses that exist. I think this course was actually, this channel rather, was actually because of that. Because I mean, being an education psychologist, one that focus on career psychology, I realized people can't afford us, so why not go to them through whatever means that is available, possible, and give them information about different careers, because that's basically what you're also insinuated. Let them hear from a doctor, let them hear from an HR practitioner, let them hear from a psychologist, let them hear from a teacher. I was interviewing a teacher 2 days ago. Let them hear what a teacher does so that when they make a decision, they make an informed decision about their career path. So what we're touching on is it's one of the most critical and important part, which I share with people. Medicine is not about glamour. If you are not ready to sacrifice the hours and be there, but have passion for people, you must. I think that should be the core. Have the passion for people. If it's not there, or have passion for health, you know, because your interest might differ from other person who's a doctor within medicine. So it's not just about wearing clinical coat, carrying a stethoscope, and all that. There are many things that are involved. So thank you for touching on that.
What I actually wanted to emphasize it was that there's a number of people that are they want to become doctors, they want to become engineers, they want to become, your pilots, your chartered accountant, your geologist, your metallurgy, all those kind of nice titled careers. But the question is, most of the people that are following such careers, you'll find them that they don't even have passion. It's just a matter of, I want to have a better status. It's just a matter of, I want to make more money. And in medicine, there's no money. There is just yourself, especially in South Africa, because if you look at other salaries in other countries, you get to realize that there's a vast difference in terms of salary and all the likes. And now in South Africa, everything is expensive. It's expensive, So for me, I don't think people should apply for medicine based on reasons like I want to make money, reasons like I want to make my family proud, reasons like my ex-girlfriend dumped me, now I want to prove a point. They can be so many reasons behind, but people should go to any career because of they understand that no matter how many challenges will be thrown at them, it won't be the same. They'll be able to say, I can do a 24-hour call without complaining. I can do a 24-hour. I can even go an extra mile because of I understand that I'm in love with this. You look at white people, Indians and stuff. They start getting career guidance from primary. And we only get career guidance when I'm doing grade 11, grade 12.
If you are lucky.
If you're lucky.
Adversity.
Yes. So that's where the challenge is. And that's why you'll find a learner at the primary level that will tell you that I want to become a gangster. Because they don't know what is a career. They don't know. Today, there are some young people that have passed matric, they did well. But if you ask them, what's your passion? They don't know. Someone will tell, I don't know, like, I'm just here, So I think your program and other people out there will make an impact because you are more into giving information, relevant information for people that some of them are ignorant because they have iPhones, they have big phones, they have a lot of data, but they spend it on the things that don't really matter. So that's where the challenge is.
No, you are right. And I think that's why we are focusing on that, so that people can get the correct information about the career path or alternative career path. So no, that's good. I think now let's get to the meat of this interview, which is now you have applied, you've been selected, you are told to bring your parents to come and sign because you have been selected for Cuba. Now, somebody can be asking, what are the requirements to study at Cuba? Is it the same as studying medicine this side? What is the difference in terms of the application process?
Remember, the Cuban program, when it was started by Dr. Nkosana Dlamini-Zuma, being instructed by Nelson Mandela, after this engagement with Fidel Castro was, the two had agreed that we need to not just have a spreadsheet of the country to country, but to also interchange in terms of doctors. I'll give you doctors, and then you bring some students. In the meantime, they practice and they learn and all that. So the Cuban program is quite different from the South African program. Cubans, they don't believe that an A student is the only one who can become a doctor. Cubans, they believe that even a moderate student can become a doctor. If you look at the number of people who went to Cuba, the most important part is they look at your family background. Are you able to afford? Are you able to afford? Are you able to? Is there anyone at home that can pay at least for your fees? But obviously, they won't ignore the fact that this is underperforming student. They'll look at the fact that this person is a hard worker. This person is trying. And even with their orientation, they will tell you that, look, if you want to become a doctor, can it not be about money? Because I used to, my stipend was more than, like, the amount of my stipend was more than my lecture. You understand? So in Cuba, people that are studying medicine, it's not because they want to make money. It's because it's passionate people. It's people that want to save lives. It's people that want to find themselves creating systems that will benefit both the government and the people. So going to Cuba, you don't need to be there. You can be an A student, but you find that your mom and your father, they are nursing and teacher, then automatically you want to qualify to be part of the people that are going to Cuba. So it's more of your family background. That career path, it was created for people whom their families were not able, to support, financially. Like myself, my mother was not able to afford for my studies, but I managed to study my entire career without any interruption. My mother never paid even R5. So the Cuban program is for the most disadvantaged one, but at the same time they will look at your academic record. They won't oversight it and say, no, as long as you're coming from this family, you're automatically no. Obviously they look at your mathematics, your life sciences, your physical sciences, your English. Even though you're not going to be taught in English, but they still want to look at your English, so that can you communicate with other fellows from different countries as well.
Okay, no, super then. So the most important part is that you need to at least have performed on your matric. Now tell me, for somebody who doesn't know about the Cuban program, what is the process? Where do you get information about it? Because I think it doesn't seem to be a common knowledge. Where do people get information about it? And can you just take me through the process from, let's say I get an information today, I want to apply. What will happen from day one I apply? And if I'm selected, what will happen until the day I get to enroll at the Cuban University? Two things. How does one get to know about it? If you do get to know about it and you apply and you are accepted, what will be the process until the day you set a foot at the Cuban University?
Firstly, I would always advise people, because remember, our program from 2012, it was an extended program, which I don't think is that active. I might be wrong, but last time when I checked, they were not sending 1,000 students anymore. The number has decreased. So I'd advise everyone to go to their district office, Department of Health district office. Any district that you are coming from, go to your Department of Health district office and inquire, because the Cuban program is not like South African. They don't start in January. The academic year starts in September.
Meaning that
if anyone wants to go to Cuba this year, it's late, Inquire from next year, January, go to your district office, Department of Health, ask them about Cuban program. Mostly, if it's already active, they'll tell you that we have this many numbers. You can also be part of it, and then it's more of a journey where you have to bring like your matric results, and from there on, after they get your matric, there's a form that they usually give you. That form, it will require certain details, personal details. After they receive all those personal details, then you will get someone who comes and visit your home so that they can inquire and verify that you are coming from a disadvantaged family. I don't know about us because we were 1,000. I'm not sure if Department of Health they were going to 1,000, but the requirements they did come at my home. Met my mother, other sisters, and other sisters that were there at that moment. And after that, you will be called to go for your medical procedures, where they take blood, they take treatment, any comorbidities, From medical assessment, you go through your police clearance. From your police clearance, you have to do your passports, so that it's like a preparatory stage. And then there'll be a moment where you're going to get Cuban-trained doctors, those who studied in Cuba, and then they come and then they explain. And not everyone will actually be honest with you when it comes to Cuba. I will always say to people.
So these are South African Cuban-trained doctors coming to see you at the district for orientation, kind of a thing.
Yes, it's those who are already practicing in South Africa that went to Cuba, and they are going through this. They went through the same process that you're definitely going through. So they kind of like explain what exactly is happening. But remember, not every people become objective when they explain what they went through back in Cuba. Myself, I think I'm the least person to explain in terms of what I went through in Cuba, but I had experience, obviously, as a South African in a foreign country. So, before you go to Cuba, those are the processes that you have to go through. And then at the end of the day, they'll make a final decision, and then they'll say, out of this number, this many number is going to Cuba, you've proceeded, and then that's when you come with your family, relatives, and stuff to sign the contract. After you sign the contract, you're going to get your ticket, and someone is going to travel with you from the Department of Health. Then you travel together. Some groups, like myself, our group, we traveled alone. Remember, Limpopo was still under administration, So we traveled alone from here, South African airport, over Tambo to Paris, from Paris to Cuba. So, but nothing like, it was a smooth transition. We did not struggle until we got to Cuba. There was someone that was waiting for us. The funny part that the person was waiting for us didn't even know English. He was waiting for us in Spanish.
So okay, continue.
So that's the part. You go through a selection process. You go through medical and other procedures. From there on, you get your contract, ticket, and then you fly to Cuba. Then everything will start on the other side of the world.
So roughly, around when do you arrive at Cuba to start with your program?
Because it was an extended program, obviously it was not going to be easy. So people arrived in different times. I arrived in December.
December?
I was very late.
As in around Christmas?
Yeah, in Cuba, December is not like South Africa. You see, in South Africa, what we do in December, there's so much parties everywhere. People are getting married. In Cuba, there's the 17th of December. They celebrate the day of San Lazaro. Is more of, I think it's Anglican or Catholic. I'm not really sure about that part. And then on the 25th, obviously, there's some Christians who will celebrate
Christmas.
Jesus Christ, and then on the 31st is a common thing everywhere, but there are no crickets that side. You know, you're not like home where you just blow everything. No, it doesn't happen that side. So we cross over nicely, and then it's a new year, then life continues.
So how was your Christmas in Cuba? Your Christmas, did you enjoy Christmas, or was it how was it as students having your first Christmas at a foreign land?
If I'm to be honest with you, nothing was that easy. One had to adapt. I think that the critical part was the language, and the fact that I was told in January that you arrived late, maybe you have to wait for September so that you can start fresh with everyone. And I had to disagree to say, look, why don't I continue with everyone? Rather, I fail, and then I'll start with the other group. And most interestingly, there was a guy that was a cleaner. He's the one who taught me Spanish. So our deal, it was that I help him to clean, he teach me Spanish.
Look, and maybe, yeah, before you get to that, actually, I want you to break it down, because I actually wasn't even aware until I met somebody from Cuba that you guys studied there in a foreign language. I wanted to understand that, because I thought, every time we hear Cuba, for us who have never been there, we just think luxury, enjoying doctors, high-level medicine studies, but it looks like there's a lot that goes around there in the background, because the language, somebody was telling me about the food, somebody was telling me about the living arrangement, that they were sharing rooms. I don't know how many they were. And I was shocked, because I didn't even expect that. I thought you guys were in luxurious life and enjoying, and medicine is the best environment.
You're not in Washington.
You're
not in Washington. Like, no. When you're in Cuba, you're not in Washington. You are in Cuba. You are in the Cuban island, and like those who follow politics and those who follow international news would see that our economy is way better than Cuban economy.
Yeah.
The good thing about Cuba is that they will teach you to be humble. You're not going to be that doctor too much of himself, that I'm a doctor, no one can tell me anything. No. That country will teach you to be humble, because some rooms you'll find 10 people in one room.
10 people, 10 students.
Yes, 10 students.
Like as in like first year or senior students?
It's not about first year or senior. No, that doesn't matter. Remember, when I say 10 students, I'm not saying 10 students in a one bedroom South African standard. I'm talking about 10 students in a room that is more spacious, and I don't know what they call them. Those beds that they have, double
bag.
Yes, bags. Yes.
Like for the kids, the one at the bottom, the one on top.
Yes. So you have such in Cuba. So when you say 10, it means it's 5 of those beds, and you multiply that by 2.
So the rooms there must be very spacious rooms, eh?
There are spacious rooms, but you can imagine 10 people in one room. It won't be that easy. It's like a military environment.
Yeah, look, I think you put it well, because I think the person I was speaking to used that way. It's like, so basically they train you there to be a servant doctor in a way, because if you come from such an environment, really your mindset will have to shift.
There's one doctor, actually one professor, she specialized 5 times, by the way.
Yeah.
She once said to me that, look, Molomo, if I can go to your country, possibility I might not even want to come back.
Or from Cuba. The doctor is from Cuba.
from Cuba.
Sure.
And then she said, what will make me come back to Cuba is that I can walk in the streets without fearing that someone will come and attack me. I can go to any hospital and find and be treated and, you know, just receive the best medical attention you can ever thought of. And she said, even if I'm without a job, I'll still be able to eat. You know, the government will feed me. They won't give me 350. I don't agree personally. I don't agree with the monetary, you know, relief for people. But if you say people are hungry, create schemes where you can find a way how to give them food. Rather, because in South Africa, the culture is that we know that if you give them money, it might not even 80% of our people, they won't use the money accordingly. Some they will go to shabins and then gambling and all those kind of things. We know that. So the old lady professor, she said, I love my country because of I can be myself. I am safe. I can eat well, and healthy. And on top of that, the people here, it's not about who has what. You know, we are all equal. We live together. And most importantly, we are united.
Wow. So actually, I mean, the environment totally is different from us in terms of, you know, the way people receive medical and health services. But obviously, I mean, in terms of the training, you guys have a different experience. Now, I want you to take me back. So you arrive at, and I know you end up becoming the president of the student. I don't want you to take your luxurious experience. I want you to think of any kid out there who might want to come to Cuba or go to Cuba. What is the standard experience for an average person who doesn't become an SRC member? You arrive at Cuba, what is the likely process for the next 6 years that you are there? Or let's say the first year, what is the likely
Don't be a
common
cheese boy or a cheese girl. That's
yeah.
the part that I'll say because you know when you go to Cuba, you need to know why exactly you left South Africa. Now, I was raised by a paid man, a proudly paid man. My mom and my father, you know, my father came sometimes in my late life when I was more like a teenager and stuff. And since then, I've never became comfortable eating rice. Because people, they think when you go to Cuba, you're going to eat at a luxurious restaurant every day. You know, and then you get to Cuba, they feed you beans, you know, your black beans, your rice, eggs, milk, you know, your rolls. There's no
I
bread
heard
like
that
South
is
Sudan. There's no
I heard
South
that
Sudan.
is the most common food.
Pardon?
I heard that is what you guys ate almost every day. That was the most common food that you ate there.
Yes. And look, remember, Cuba is still under economical fight with the United States of America. So at times the resources are limited. There are times where in the country there's no chicken. The only chicken that is reserved is for hotels and for us students.
So okay, take me through a typical day. What will you guys eat in the morning, lunch, and supper?
In the morning, you're gonna get a roll or two of those rolls. They don't use margarine, they use some cheese, some sort of cheese of theirs.
Okay,
And
that's nice. At least you have got cheese.
and then you're going to get milk, a cup of milk. That will be your breakfast. There's no cornflakes, there's no wheat bix. It's your standard breakfast. Eggs,
Okay.
boiled egg, you know, that roll and milk. That's your standard. They
Okay.
sometimes will give you coffee. You can mix milk with coffee. It tastes nice, you know. And then your lunch, obviously you get your rice or you get your spaghetti, your beans, you know, all those kind of things.
lunch and supper will always alternate. Sometimes you'll eat chicken on lunch, you eat meals at night. The other time you eat meals during the day, you eat chicken at night. Beef is very rare. Pork, there's a lot of it. And the funny part of it is that South Africans used to, these students from Chad, they are Muslims, so they don't eat pork. So we always make sure that when you're on the queue, there must always be we must always be divided by a Chetian student, so that when they give them pork, they say no. You tell the auntie that no, you can give it to me. So instead of getting one, you get 2 pieces for yourself. So that's how we used to survive as South Africans. And to be honest with you, at times, yes, the menu was bad because of, you can imagine cooking for 5,000 students. It's not like cooking for an everyday. I'm talking about an everyday thing. It's not the same as when you cook for, 100 or 50 or 150 students. It's a lot.
But you guys were on bursary. Why couldn't you buy other things in your restaurants at the university when there are other shops there?
Obviously, we used to get a stipend. Remember, the food, it was not included into our stipend packaging, So we used to get our stipend, $200 per month. So you have a choice to buy the toiletry, you have a choice to take yourself out, that one, no one controls you on what to buy. You as an individual, you'll say, I want to buy 1, 2, 3, But it was not a must. So what I was just explaining is the standard at the university, yeah.
But there were shops, like if you go to universities, you will have your shops in the university and just outside. In the different restaurant where they do options.
In Cuba, it's a different story. Remember, when you do your first year and your second year, actually there's first year of Spanish, and then there's first year of medicine. So you'll find yourselves in isolated areas. They still want to teach you Spanish. They still want you to be part of the society, So you'll find that in the school there's a cafeteria. They're selling few things, And remember, their products at the same time are not like our products. You don't go there and find kiwi, your shoe polish. There's no such. There's no chicken licking, there's no McDonald's, there's no Nando's, all these franchises, fast food. No, it doesn't exist there. Government is the one that is providing a lot of services around. So when you get chance, you'll do additionals like your toiletry. Obviously, there was no any toiletry sent from South Africa to Cuba. You'll go and buy different brands for your survivor.
Sure. And you are speaking now about the food. So, and you also touch on the room. So the rooms have got about 6 or 10 people in the room. And I would understand, are there a lot of showers? How's the arrangement with that? Do you have a lot of lockers inside the room? Are they outside? How's the arrangement?
Survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest,
Yeah.
If you are 10, you assume that there's just 10 showers.
Yeah.
There'll be 3 or 4 or 5 showers. So is that
but for one room, not for the whole row, not for the whole floor.
Okay. I think your question is more relevant. Now, in my instance, there will be 10 showers for 3 rooms or 4 rooms. That each room that contains 10 people.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And remember, I always say when it comes to showers and that, I can't blame it only on Cuba. I'll also say, how were you raised as an individual? Because you'll find that in the very same corridor, we are all South Africans. But when you go to the shower, you realize that we were raised differently, my friend,
I was raised very well. You know, my mom, she was very strict. She was that woman that would give you tough love. She always wanted you to be clean. You will never sleep at night without taking a bath or a shower. It will never happen. You have to take one of those. In our space, it was only bath. Just get the money and our choice. You have to take a bath before you sleep. So other fellows, you know, they didn't really come from good background, and that's when you're gonna realize that if you are not well organized as South Africans, you end up having conflicts amongst yourselves because of. I come from an environment that you don't just wake up and rock up to school. You have to wake up, you know, make your bed, make sure that everything is fine. You don't just wear anything. You have to use an iron to make sure that your trousers, you know, they're well ironed. You know, but there are fellows that man, they jump out of the bed, you know, get to the shower.
I can imagine it's difficult to juggle or, you know, keep up with a roommate when you are only 2 in a room in South Africa. How did you guys manage when you are 10 in a room?
That's why I said survival of the fittest, because there will be pity fights where someone is watching a movie on his laptop without headphones. That time you're trying to nap because you have arrangements of studies and stuff. And it's watching action movie, you know, you just get guns. Some don't even buy those small speakers, you know. So for me, I then had to make arrangements. I had to create an environment where I call all the roommates and say, guys, let's make a comfortable environment for everyone. And that really worked for us because we knew that from this time to this time, no loud music, you know. And we also knew in terms of during the week, I was always an early person. I always want to go to the shower to be the first one. Take a shower, the rest will follow after. You know. So we used to arrange as per room in terms of cleaning, because there were people that were cleaning, but there'll be those fellows that will just eat and leave things there on the table. So it was at a room level where we discuss and we guide each other to make our environment more comfortable.
Okay. And you mentioned that at first day you are starting, you are 10. At what point do the numbers reduce? At what point can you get a single room? At what point can one now go to the senior residence?
When you come to South Africa. No, that's the truth.
So you mean even by the time you guys live there, you are at least at your 5th year, 6 months. So you mean even a person at the 5th year level, you are still staying 10 in a room?
Remember, I said you must remain humble in Cuba. So you don't go to management, even as SRC, and say, look, in South Africa, the more you go to a different year, things change. No, you're in a different environment. You listen and you follow their instruction. They'll tell you that, okay, it's fine. In South Africa, we don't have such accommodation here. You can go back to your country. And one thing I love about Cuban people is that they are not ashamed of what they have. They're actually proud of what they have as a country. Not like us. We cry a lot, by the way. So in Cuba, they teach you to be as humble to a point that in your brain, it's all about, I want to push and make sure that I go back home with the title, finish, then go and serve my people.
And I want to understand now in terms of the study arrangement, because if you are 10, it can be difficult to manage that when you want to study. How far is the library or the study hall?
Don't worry about that. They're in the same facility, in your accommodation. There are areas where you can go and study. A lot of areas.
Wow.
So you can never come with an excuse and say, I failed because of I was supposed to study in my room and there were 10, fellows in the room. It doesn't work like that.
Is it? Okay, no, that's good. So in terms of then support, so you have I'm trying to have a picture of the institute. When you have issues, usually here we have what we call psychological services that we have. And do we have something like that for students, where when you've got issues, you can go to the student support, sit there, they provide counseling? What kind of
I don't
support is
know.
there for student support?
I don't know about now, but back in the days, when I was in the SRC, that's what we always thought about. You know, there are psychologists in Cuba, but it's Cuban psychologists. They speak Spanish. How do you address yourself when you are, stressed in Spanish? You need to find someone that is South African, that even if you're Zulu, because Zulus, they prefer their language more than even English. So I'll give example with Zulus, that they need to find someone that can even try to say unjani, that, especially when you're stressed. I can't be speaking Spanish when I'm stressed and express myself in Spanish. There are certain things you can't. Even if you tell the person, it will be your vision, but how it is told. Your story won't be the same when you tell a South African psychologist. So
No, continue. Sorry.
So I think that was the biggest concern. But I also loved what we did as SRC. We never said because we don't have psychological support, we are not going to do anything. Within SRC, we selected a few people, especially those that you can see that they are more matured, they are more of leading the groups, So we created that environment where people are able to engage when they have, pressing matters.
No, I hear you, and I think that's the most important thing. We can only hope that at least they have it now, because I remember when I was speaking to another gentleman, and I was asking him about support, because support seems to be a big issue. How, and I think, I don't know when you went there, how was the situation? But during his time, he mentioned that even communication with family was very difficult, because I think connectivity was an issue. How was it on your side in terms of communicating to family, and how often will you come home in a year?
You don't come home that often unless you feel like you are in Zimbabwe, you can just travel back home. Usually you come back after 2 years. And communication, when we arrived in 2012, it was complex. But I think towards our 4th year, 5th year, internet became better. So the communication became better. But in terms of coming home to a standard, you come home every 2 years. And if you have pending exams, you can't come home. You have to finish your exams. Because people will come home and say, I'll study during the holidays. But not in South Africa, man. It's not that easy to study. Then you go back without studying and fail. So then we came with a policy that if you are having pending supplementary exams, you don't go home. You wait, you finish exams, and then you go with the next routine.
So in a sense, you are there for about 5.5 years. Are you telling me you'll only come home, let's say, about 2 or 3 times during your time there?
Yes. And it's very healthy anyway, to be honest with you.
Sure. Okay, let's get to the education part now, because I want to release you by, you said quarter past, eh?
Sure.
Yeah. Let's get to the education part. You arrive there, and at what point do you get to know that you are going to study in Spanish, and when do you start the Spanish?
From South Africa, before you leave, they will tell you that you're going
that everything is in Spanish.
Then you start buying a dictionary. That's where it starts like.
And when do you study the Spanish when you arrive there?
When you arrive at the airport, they will tell you, follow me in Spanish. That's when you realize that I've started now.
And what happened? How did you guys adapt to that?
No, man, as I've said to you, it goes with determination, to be honest with you. It goes with determination. I mean, like, you can't leave South Africa, go to Cuba, and you want everything to be spoon-feeded and stuff, you know? They will tell you from the airport, like, let's go in Spanish. Vamos. Once they say vamos, and by that time, you don't even know what vamos means. But because of the sign language, you follow them. Wake up tomorrow in the morning, everyone speaking Spanish. You know, other students arrive before you. You can hear that they know some greetings, you know, in the morning, buenos dias, and all those things. But then, as time goes by, that's when you realize that I'm not here to play. I'm here to get the title, go back to South Africa and serve my people.
Is there any module that you ever do in English, or all the modules are Spanish?
My friend, you see, these 12 languages, 12 official languages in South Africa, it doesn't work like that in Cuba. In Cuba, one official language is Spanish.
Sure.
So there's no English under any circumstances.
So when you look back at the training, what would you say it's one of the best things that one can actually appreciate by being at Cuba compared to if you were to study here?
In South Africa, there's a stigma that when you study medicine, you are more important than everyone. In Cuba, you will find a taxi driver that is a specialist driving a taxi.
Wow.
So that automatically makes you humble. That automatically makes you see that actually I'm not important than anyone. I'm equal to everyone. You know, so it is, that part is outstanding. And if you are clever enough, you allow yourself to understand that part, then South Africa won't waste their money. The taxpayers won't waste their money, because you will study medicine and you'll come back acquiring that, you know. Now in South Africa, if I went to Cuba, if you can and then after 2 kilometers, an old lady climbs in the bus and there's no space, I will literally put headphones on, listen to music. It's a different story. You know?
Sure.
In Cuba, when an old lady comes in the bus, when as a young person, you stand up and give space to an old person. You know? When a pregnant woman comes in and you're climbing the bus, you must help that pregnant woman on the stairs of the bus.
Which is the manners that we have.
Yes.
You know? Which is the manners that we have learned, but for some reason we have seems to have lost them.
And I'm not going to say South Africa, I love my country. South Africa is a beautiful country. There's so much potential. It's just few things that we as young people need to learn. But the truth is, in Cuba, you're in an environment where you become yourself. You know, you enjoy the person that you are, and they make you respect one another.
I hear you. And let's say somebody's watching and want to find out what will be your distinction between medicine as a course in Cuba compared to medicine as a course in South Africa.
I'll say the difference between Cuba and South Africa into the medical system is that South African, we are more into curative. You know? South Africa, there isn't much that we'll talk about when we talk of primary healthcare. But when you go to Cuba, remember Cuba is a socialist country. the socialism right there. So they are more into, they believe in prevention. They always say prevention is better than cure, you know? So that's the classic part of it when you want to differentiate between South Africa and the Cuban system. And secondly, I would say, I mean, like in Havana only, there is more than 6 medical hospitals, like academic hospitals. In South Africa, you go to Limpopo, there's like 2 academic hospitals. You know? In Cuba, there's more than 8 medical universities in the province. In South Africa, some provinces don't even have medical university.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Now, in closure, let's say a student comes to you, a matric student has been accepted at Cuba, has been accepted at one of the medical universities in South Africa. What advice will you give them? They want to know whether Cuba or South African and why.
It will depend. If you're a cheese boy, rather stay in South Africa. If you're a guy, I would go to Cuba.
So in short, so Cuba is not for the crybaby. Hardcore.
No, the crybaby. No,
Yeah.
most of them they came back.
But the West student who came back from Cuba.
Even if it was not Cuba, you can't send a number of students to a certain country and expect them to come back with titles, all of them. Everywhere they can go. There will always be those ones, you know, your delinquent. And there was once a student, when I was the president, you know, I always defended my students so hard. But then there was this one student, and West Part was a South African student. I was the president of the whole university, and then now comes a fellow from my country, only to realize that this fellow wrote an exam, he failed. He then went to the exam center, broke in, rewrote his exam, and submitted to the. You work at the university. I'm sure some of people you know attempted to do such. You know.
Sure.
Yeah. So in that kind of an environment, they called me. They explained what the student did. I called the student because I always believe that you never listen to one story. You must always listen from both sides. I called the student and asking, Chief, what happened? And the student confirmed that yes. Obviously, after some difficult questions, that's when the student, you know, relaxed and explained that yes, I did that. Unfortunately, that student had 24 hours to leave the country because the Cuban people, they don't play games when it comes to such.
Wow.
This question, the dean said to me, the reason I don't want this student in this faculty is because I never want to produce criminal doctors.
No, Doc, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Last words. Students all over the country might want to follow the Cuban route, be like you. You served as the president of the students in Cuba. What last words can you give to any student watching who might be interested in following the Cuban program?
Before medicine, before engineering, before anything, I would advise everyone to know themselves. Find yourself, know what you want, and make sure that you don't go to any career because of certain pressures that is like external pressures. Entertain anything that works for you, even if it does not make people around you happy. Go for it, make a difference, and become one of the few that we have in the country. And I believe that in South Africa, there's no unemployment because if we can work hard, if we can make sure that we are united, if we can make sure that those that are academics, they go back to their villages and townships to support local programs. South Africa will be a better country. We don't need lottery. We don't need free money from government. We don't need someone, a Samaritan from another country. We can do it. It's just a matter of shifting the mentality. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doc. Let me release you and thank you for your time. I know you've got a meeting. Thank you so much and keep well.
Thank you so much, bro. Thank you.
Thank you.